Alright, welcome back to the SuperCoach NRL channel, and in this video we're going to discuss the fact that it's finally here. 2025 SuperCoach NRL open, ready to go. I did predict it would be sometime this week. I didn't expect it to be today, or so early this morning. At the time of recording it's not quite 8:30. Saw about 8 o'clock someone saying it was open, so you've got to jump in and get it set up. So in this video we'll obviously open up the leagues. You can see I've currently got the first league set up here with the code 806663. But probably what I'd recommend is actually adding the link I'll put below in the description. And basically as the leagues fill up, because I know last year we had 3 leagues, I'm pretty sure. So predicting about that much again. As the leagues fill up, what we'll do is just create another league. I'll try and put a post up on YouTube, but I'll also just update the link on this video or any subsequent videos as the leagues fill up. So yeah, just a quick plug for how the leagues would work now that we can set them up. But I guess just to give the video a little bit more content, I'll go through the current team, and I'm going to try and do it in a slightly different order, starting from the back and working the way up, just because there's a little bit of a different structure, and I didn't want to give too much away at the start. But at fullback, sort of sticking with the sort of consensus method of 2 guns and the cheapie in Iongi. I did a video last week, I think it came out around the 3 fullback strategy. And, while there is certain validity to it, I think, one of the common sort of strategies with SuperCoach is that the rookies dictate your structure. So, it sounds like there's a good chance we're getting Iongi at the back. So I think you've got to take him, and then, you can have 2 guns. Bit of talk about Chevy Stewart as well in the fullback position. So I think, if we get him as well, he could potentially become the flex. Like I've got Tommy Turbo there as probably the locked-in gun. Probably got the highest upside out of any player in the game. And a couple of people have pointed out that he's got a pretty good opening fixture, so a little bit scared to play him. I've got Drinkwater there as sort of the value gun. He's a little bit cheaper. Hopefully he gets the goal kicking, which will help. But yeah, he could easily become Chevy Stewart in the case that we do get that second fullback cheapie. So yeah, just scrolling up, I guess where the bigger change or biggest change, I suppose, in my team has come, and this is based off last few years sort of getting caught out with going very cheap in the centre wing, and then they all pop off and we struggle to get them in our team. So decided to try and go fairly big at the back in terms of centre wing. Sekiraz was in my initial team, and I'd really love to just plug him in for the season. Bulldogs do have a pretty good run to start the year too. Pretty good with the buys as well around Origin. Kiraz would be an outside chance of getting an Origin spot, you'd think, but assuming he doesn't play, he's a really good asset to hold. And copy and paste all that for Ruben Garrick. Manly do have a pretty good opening run, as we just said. Good buys. He kicks goals, does all the things. So, yeah, happy to have Garrick in the team as well. So probably the top 2 sort of guns I've got there. RTS, there's a bit of chat that he might go back to fullback. So if we can get RTS at fullback for 550, I'm all over that. If he's in the centres, what I might do is just sort of drop down to another 500k player. So, we're talking about this stuff early season. It's, and saying like these are the players we want. It's really more about the structure. So, I've got the 2 guns up here, and I can't see them changing aside from injury. But after that, we've got two in sort of the 500k range. Um, so two of Arshak and Skelton, I do like as that tackle breaker option. Um, Around the same price, you could look at a Greg Marzu if you think he can bounce back this season. Campbell Graham obviously is very popular. Um, so that's basically it could be any one of, or any two of those players come the start of the season. I've got Casey McLean, albeit on the bench. It's probably not ideal to have that much money on the bench at the moment. But unless there's another genuine cheapie jump up out of the ground, um, I do like his upside. He scored 4 tries for New Zealand on debut, so he knows how to score a try. He's probably going to get first crack at that wing spot vacated by Taruva. Um, so, lots of upside there. So, happy to play him. And then Purdue and Toya. So a lot of chat about Toya getting the start at the Roosters in the centres. There's definitely, spots available. Purdue, sounds like he's a chance of playing either centre or he could even be the halfback. But, if he gets a start at that price and his potential, happy to have him in the team. In the halves, so we have cut back a little bit. Still got Cleary, and I think he will just stay locked in, assuming he is fit to go round one. And I've brought Sandon Smith up from the hooking position. I have had Hines in previous drafts here, but just wanted to invest a little bit more money in the centre wing, and I think there's a couple of other more or just as viable hooker options. A potential another option in this spot as well could be Tom Duffy from the Cowboys. Sounds like he's another one in the running for that 7 jersey that's been vacated by Chad Townsend. In which case, obviously, Sandon Smith can move back to hooker, so there is a bit of fluidity there as well. At 5/8, I've toyed with Dylan Brown, Cam Munster. At the moment, I've got Matt Burton. Sort of in line with what I just said around, good opening schedule. The buys are pretty friendly. The issue is he tends to be the 18th man for New South Wales, so it's not the best buy schedule for him. But what it does allow us is a little bit of time just to have a look at Dylan Brown. There is big changes there at Para with the coach. Obviously, the fullback's going to be different as well. So those combinations and stuff will probably take a little bit of time to gel. So yes, happy to play Burton. I know Munster was thrown up as a good option. Probably is, but the Storm have, I think it's like 3 buys in the first 15 rounds or something. They are the first team to finish all their buys, which, sort of says to me, target Munster after that. Do have a tough opening run as well with Penrith in there somewhere in the first few as well. So I'm sort of banking on Munster to not get too out of hand, and we can grab him. Probably post Origin would be ideal, but any time after that last buy in round 15. Metcalf, I've got pretty happy to keep. Potential goal kicking, has the talent, just needs to stay on the park and not get injured. So we'll take the punt there on him. Just one of those ones you like the look of, so you want to have in the team. So I guess where the shortcuts have come are in the second row, in particular. In saying that, I have got Mitch Barnett in the team. So with Tohu Harris retiring, there's been a bit of chat about, Aaron Clark might get the 13 jumper, Dylan Walker maybe. It's not to say I think he'll play 13, but I think Barnett is the big winner. Just because Tohu, even when Tohu Harris was playing in the 10 jumper, they just plugged and played him for 80 minutes. So there is a big minute role available. And I think, Barnett is a very similar style of guy. Could easily play 80 minutes in the front row. Probably Origin is the one concern, but that's a long way down the track. So not a value pick by any stretch, but in terms of like those keepers in the second row, and obviously he's got front row eligibility as well. He'll probably become a front rower in my team if I'm being completely honest. But I think he's the one that will benefit most at the start of the season. So going that way. After that, I've gone the cheap second row options that I sort of talked about in the three fullback video. Fini Filiaki hopefully gets that edge spot at the Dolphins. Hetherington, hopefully gets the starting lock spot at the Broncos. There's a lot of hopefullys in this setup. So obviously it is all subject to change. Nicholson, good chance of getting that edge spot at the Raiders. I saw Hosking is sort of recovering from injury. Siwa Wong, surely gets a spot somewhere in the Roosters starting team. Or, sorry, 17. May come off the bench. And Josh Schuster with Cam Murray, sort of injured yet again. Probably going to miss the start of the season. He could get the first crack at that left edge spot, which is always a pretty nice spot to be at the Rabbitohs. So then up front, I've got Nafahu White, Corey Horsburgh. Talked about these guys before. Obviously, the flexibility is pretty handy as well. Tino, I'm happy to start in the squad, albeit he'll be on the bench for round one, but he also becomes then the loophole for round one, if we need. And then I've gone with a Monet. So a lot of people going with Royce Hunt as this cheap front row option. Personally, after thinking about it, having a bit of a look, I don't know if there's the minutes there for Hunt. They've got Terrell May, who will probably play big minutes. Who else have they got from memory? It's escaped me now. I know they've got like Bolle, they've got Clemmer, they've got Alex Twal. So Bolle and Twal in particular can play big minutes. So I think they might use Royce Hunt as that impact style player that he's probably been associated as. Whereas Monet, I saw some stats from the Super League. He's been playing quite big minutes, a lot of work, and we know that the Bulldogs need that bigger body in the middle. So I think he probably offers more value than Royce Hunt in that sense. And then the hookers, I've gone with Moser and Mamazelis. So Moser, again, a bit like Metcalf, just like the look of what I've seen of him in the past. Maybe there's a little bit of bias there just because living in Brisbane, you do hear a bit more about those guys. But, I think if he gets the starting spot, I'd pick him over Mamazelis. And I guess if we got Duffy, for example, so I'll just quickly do a bit of a shuffle around here. So get rid of, we'll go by ownership because he'll be up there. So, if we were to get a Duffy, he's 11% of teams currently. It does free up an extra 100k, which obviously, we could reinvest in upgrading, particularly our second row, is probably where it's most shaky at the moment. But, taking the money and using it in there would be very nice. So let's be optimistic and have a look. So, it's ideally probably, it just depends on who got the spot. Maybe it's not Hetherington, for example. So, it gives us 500k to spend. I need to go back by price. So, sub 500 is a little bit tricky if I'm being honest. You'd like that little bit more to reach for, Hosking if he does get up in time for the start. Bateman looks like he's a good chance of that edge spot at the Cowboys. In saying that, it could also be someone like, what was the name I saw the other day? Oh, they're all in the same sort of area. So, could be Kai O'Donnell. It could even be Carlton Hess, who, started life as an edge back rower, sort of moved into the middle. Lawton, imagine he'd play backup hooker, but he can also play on that edge if need be. So, there could again be another cheapie around that low 300s sort of mark, which is why, I've sort of banked on on they'd be in the position where we can find a couple of cheapies this season. Maybe even Jack Bird at that slightly higher price could do a bit for us. So I'll just plug Hetherington back in for the time being. So obviously a bit more flexibility, but again, we are relying on a lot of water to go under the bridge. But we'll wrap the video up there. Like I said, the main thing was just to pump up the league uh, being open. So if you want to join in, league code for the first league 806-663. But as I said, use the link in the description is the best way, because I will update that as leagues fill up. In saying that, if you do have any questions, comments, thoughts, as always, feel free to add them in the comment section below the video. Give us a like if you're enjoying the NRL content. Now it's back for the 2025 season. Subscribe for all the fantasy sports content on the channel. Get your reminders, those posts about when the new leagues are up, that sort of thing. And other than that, we'll catch you in the next one.